This is the question of the day in this lawsuit. Where does she live? The First Lady does not live with the President of the United States. Their relationship is remote at best.
A fascinating new report is spilling insane and embarrassing secrets about Melania Trump's marriage behind the scenes. And one of its sources is actually the Melania Trump movie itself. Oops! This information comes in the middle of lawsuits, threats, and whispers of Melania's connections to Epstein, actually. So buckle up, because today's video is a crazy one. And I'm going to relate this bombshell new information to glimpses you see in the Melania movie, which I regrettably have watched, or should I say, have had done to my eyeballs. If you enjoy our reporting on more niche political stories and don't even mind the occasional British snark thrown in, make sure you subscribe to Raw America, because we're all snark and plenty of bite. Michael Wolff is an award-winning journalist who's written for major publications like USA Today and The Hollywood Reporter. He's also become somewhat famous in more recent years for his best-selling books on Donald Trump, starting with his first, Fire and Fury, in 2018, a bombastic tell-all tome that he put together from hundreds of hours of interviews with actual White House staff, including Trump's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Steve Bannon, also known as Evil Zach Galifianakis. No chance I said that properly. Wolff's book about Trump's dysfunctional and chaotic White House was so explosive that it actively tore fractures into the Trump camp itself. Famously, he quoted Steve Bannon as saying that Trump Jr. and Jared Kushner's meeting with Russian officials was treasonous and unpatriotic, as saying that Ivanka Trump was as dumb as a brick. There's a saying about apples and trees to slipping up on, and also that Trump's lawyer had gotten him out of 100 claims against him by women during the campaign. Oh yeah, and also that Trump was so dumb that they couldn't physically manage to explain to him the Fourth Amendment, no matter how hard they tried. Which, when you look at what's going on today with ICE, seems more believable than ever. The fallout from this book was absolutely catastrophic, and in true incompetent fashion, the manner in which the Trump camp tried to run damage control on it seemed to effectively confirm that every detail in it was true. The White House released an official statement saying that Steve Bannon had lost his mind. Trump sent his lawyer after Bannon, sending a cease and desist for violation of an NDA, while simultaneously posting on Twitter that the book was full of lies and to, quote, watch what happens to him and Sloppy Steve. Or should I say, watch what happens to him and Sloppy Steve. Sloppy Steve really is one of Trump's weaker toddler titles. Of course, if Trump says something isn't true and never happened, it most likely did happen. And then when Trump threatens you with his lawyers, it becomes mathematically a concrete fact. In fact, it's usually only the things that Trump says did happen that aren't true, in an unusual phenomenon called the Donnie Kruger effect. Honestly, digging into this book for this video, I could easily have made another hours-long video delving into all the insane revelations just from Wolff's first Trump book alone. And he's written 4 books about Trump total. They're genuinely fascinating, so if you want to see me make more content on this topic, let me know in the comments and subscribe to the channel so you can see the follow-up. Anyway, all that is to say, this guy has some serious pedigree when it comes to reporting on the private lives and behind the scenes of the Trump family, and his latest revelation might be his biggest bombshell yet, in the sense of, oh yes, what enormous landmine that I saw coming from a mile away. So here it is. Donald and Melania Trump do not live together. People have long speculated about the nature of their marriage. I think perhaps more in a sort of, they're of the boomer generation. She was maybe a mail order bride, kind of. If they ever had love, it seems to be gone. They keep together for the kids. No, wait, they wouldn't do something selfless like that. They keep together for appearances. But it actually goes much deeper than that. Effectively, Wolff claims, they are not together at all. And the background to how he dug out this information is even more incredible. In October 2025, Wolff filed a lawsuit against Melania Trump, alleging that she had been threatening him with a $1 billion defamation lawsuit herself over his comments linking Melania to Epstein's social circle. Now, ultimately, this might have been quite the self-own for Melania, trying to scare off a journalist with integrity, a quality that, admittedly is hard to recognize in others when you have none in yourself, I suppose.
This lawsuit is important because it is a tool to get to the bottom of the nature of the Trump-Epstein relationship. This lawsuit gives us a precise version. We can ask the questions. What did you know? When did you know it? What did you do? On what dates did this occur? Who did it occur with?
Yeah, so now they're facing a courtroom where they'll be asked all these questions about their relationship with Epstein for a lawsuit they can't dismiss because, for once, they're on the receiving end of this one, not the ones threatening against someone else. And to make matters even worse, all that posturing that caused Wolff to bring his lawsuit about in the first place was already kind of pointless because the latest batch of Epstein files already contained evidence that it was Jeffrey Epstein, ready for this, get ready for this, it's crazy, Jeffrey Epstein that introduced Melania to Donald Trump. Yeah, this shit is crazy, and it's backed up by evidence. Like the QAnon shit, except, not batshit crazy and without the element of woo-woo spirituality and, meaning's just what you make of it, dude, that appeals to exceedingly simple people. Woo! So back to their marriage. Officially, Melania and Donald Trump live together in Florida at Mar-a-Lago. Of course, officially, Donald Trump is the fittest president we've ever had, and he's also the most intelligent and mentally sharp.
Venezuela. He stinks.
Hurrah, MAGA! MAGA, MAGA!
We have made America strong again.
So, Wolff filed his lawsuit in New York because they actually have strong legal protections there against frivolous lawsuits without merit, used to coerce people, like the Trump special, basically, such as the threats to sue Wolff for a cool Billy by the Trumps. The Trumps are trying to get this lawsuit moved to Florida, that bastion of law and order for obvious reasons, but in doing so, they've actually opened themselves up to being challenged to prove where they live. And, according to Wolff, Melania does not live in Florida.
And challenge this idea that she lives in Florida. We go over the evidence, including the evidence for all to see in this movie, in Melania, the movie, that she does not live in Florida, and nor does she live with her husband in Washington in the White House, but rather she lives on a basically full-time basis in New York. Basically, she has never left New York.
Now, as this channel's regrettable resident Melania movie expert, a title I will shamefully take to my grave, sullying the ground where my bones lie, the shame seeping deep down into the earth and bothering my ancestors, this actually makes perfect sense based on what you see in the movie. Most of the intimate, and by intimate I mean completely fake, scripted, cynical, and morally disturbing sequences of Melania doing normal things with her day, such as being a fashion designer with no design experience, showing compassion towards a misfortune with no compassion experience, and speaking English to the camera with no English experience, all happen in New York. Trump isn't even in the movie for a while. The first time they interact, actually, it's a painfully scripted encounter over the phone, where Trump pretends he just won the election, despite it being filmed in January 2025, and where their interaction feels as natural as a penguin and a tiger trying to shake hands.
Did you watch it?
I did not.
The first time we see them interact in person, Trump acts like, well, watch this clip. I think I explained it pretty well. So she hops back in one of Trump's ancient planes, and Trump greets her when he gets off. He kisses her like she's a FedEx package.
Except the fact that she lives in New York, and this is a kind of a message to the country and to history itself. The First Lady does not live with the President of the United States. Their relationship is remote at best, and I think we can probably say certainly of a different nature than any President and First Lady has ever had.
I don't expect Margaret to care about this information. Let's face it, Trump's speedrunning, committing every crime under the sun, and taking billions of dollars in while he dick slaps Margaret about with his little Teenage Mutant Ninja member wasn't the final straw. So finding out the president is lying about his marriage is probably just like basement level chill stuff to them. They'll probably say he's living the boomer dream. He's keeping his wife thousands of miles away. Women, am I right?
Melania, the movie, is theoretically her life, but it's really a disguise of her life, except if you then dissect it and look closer. This is her. She is trying to live the life of a superstar in New York.
A vibe you very much get from the movie. I mean, the opening scene where something actually finally happens, and by something I mean a sliver more than nothing at all, is Melania pretending to be a fashion designer on a sterile-looking set that gives off strong reality TV vibes.
I've given up a long time ago trying to read the MAGA mind, but if I were a MAGA person, I would certainly start to question this, the fact that the president's wife, the First Lady, is wholly uninterested, maybe even contemptuous of what the president is doing, and is leading this parallel glamour life in New York City.
Oof, awkward. I mean, this guy Wolff is an incredible journalist with incredible insight into the Trumps, but that doesn't translate to Margaret. I mean, it's a cult. This is one of the least controversial things about them, probably, to people like that. According to Wolff, Melania is actually posturing herself to become financially independent from Trump, whatever that means when you can have the world's shiniest Bond villain hand you a cool $28 million on a whim. But the movie itself might have been a platform to launch her own brand from, and apparently she's distancing herself from him physically and personally too. There is one snag to this case, though. One tiny little snag, one tiny little detail.
And the judge in this case, who we have no reason to assume is anything but a fair-minded judge, but the judge is a Trump appointee.
Yeah, this Wolff guy is really giving all these marker types way too much credit, in my opinion. Apparently, Trump's team are going to go and try and use a Florida driving license to prove that she lives in Florida. However,
all you need in Florida to get a driver's license is
a pulse. In fact, speaking as someone that made a mistake of living in Florida for a bit too long, a bit longer than no time at all, I'm not even sure you need a pulse to get a license there. You certainly don't need driving skills, situational awareness, community spirit, risk assessment capability, or a brain, really.
And in fact, she has said over and over again in Does in Melania the movie that New York is where her heart is.
Except the movie also definitively proves that she doesn't have one. It's an interesting paradox. This is honestly just scratching the surface of the insane information dump Wolff just did, not just on his Substack, but also in a podcast, the one you've seen clips from. So please do check the description for links where you can look at that stuff directly. But this video is already very long. Maybe, I always think that when I'm scripting it, but who knows? Wait, I have a script? Yeah, anyway, this video is already very long, and I've already exhausted all my Melania is a robot material. Like Melania, that material has a battery, and that battery is empty. But if you want me to report more on the bombshell revelations Wolff is reporting, including insider information on what it's like in the batshit insane Trump White House crazy carnival fun place 2.0, please do leave a comment and let me know. We live in truly wild times, and who knows what craziness awaits us in the months ahead. What I do know is that we'll be here to report on it in a semi-competent fashion. I'm British Chris, and this is Raw America.